Here I am thinking, as we all were, Roma was about to blow it at home in front of over 61,000 people, blown out Stadio Olimpico, down 1-0, going into extra time, added time, whatever. Oh my gosh. This team, man. Oh boy, welcome. I'm Wayne Gerard. You know me, I know you. We got a lot to unpack here. But I tell you what, going into the Derby della Capitale against Lazio in a round where Lazio lose, Atalanta lose, Roma gets 3 points. They go provisionally. No, not provisionally. They go into seventh, tied with Fiorentina on points, 17 points now after 11 rounds. The XG, I thought the XG was going to be a lot higher when I looked. When you are getting ready to write something about a game and the match is coming towards the end, you start drafting an outline. And I will tell you that my outline for this game looked completely different, which was like, it's a shame. Mourinho had them organized, but they couldn't do it. Ultimately, Roma lose ground where they really should have made it because all the other main competitors falter. But instead, we get a real surprise. Roma win at the death. Grazie to Zalewski, to Azmoun, to Dybala, to Lukaku. And here we got a bunch of people coming in. Guys, let me know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. It's an emotional roller coaster. I feel shot. Like, yo, how come this team cannot score a goal? What are they doing? And at the very end, Azmoun comes on as a substitute, scores a header, shows guts to go and take his chance. Throughout this game, I thought Roma, this match was really back and forth, and Lecce had a few chances, others besides the goal, which could have been scored. Roma surely had a few. Dybala almost scored one of the nicest goals of his career. On top of that, Lukaku didn't see too much of the ball. I thought after he missed that penalty kick, he seemed a little out of it. I thought that was a challenge for him to mentally get back on it. And once you miss something like that, there's definitely the psychological aspect of what's going to happen to the player. How are they going to approach the rest of the match? Are they going to get involved? Are they going to be isolated like we saw against Inter last weekend? So there were issues coming into this that I was worried about after he missed that penalty kick. But Roma, should we even go through this play by play and look at some of those shots that were missed? I mean, does it matter at this point? I think Roma did a good job. I think even if I won't say, because if you didn't come up even with a point, I would have been really disappointed. With a point, I would have been like, yeah, it's okay, because they had some good, decent scoring opportunities. El Shaarawy did good. Karstorp was solid. Across the back line, Indica had a really big save in the second half. Mancini was fine. Llorente was fine. Rui Patricio did good. The midfield was a bit more rigid than I take that back. I think Paredes. I think Bove and Cristante worked fine. Cristante had a good game. And Aouar, I thought he did pretty good. I think there's a next level of Aouar that we can get to, that we could see. But for right now, still integrating within the team, I think he's definitely valuable to the team. Is he one which helps the team transcend and make them better off, make them into a Champions League contending side? I'm not so sure about that. Even a player like Kolpani, I'm not sure if they do. A player who I kind of have like a crush on right now. So I think that Roma's midfield suffered today, to be honest with you. Like, as I say, fine, I'm not saying that they were standout performers. I think that this team is coached well. I think Falcone is a very good keeper, and they fought. And overall, like, this was a good match, I think, for the casual fan to watch. And I want to jump to the comments immediately. We've got Leo says, Dai Roma. Martinez, what a game. Sorry, that last 5 minutes. I love the never say die spirit today. Yes, this game was like doing an assignment 5 minutes before it's due. Yeah, and then you get an A plus, right? It's like, oh, Billy, your assignment was so good today. How did you come up with this answer? Well, you would never believe it, Doc. That's Roma today. You would never believe it. If you looked at the scoreline, it would be so misleading. But off the top of my head, as I looked at the scoreline towards the end of the match, Roma had 5 chances on net. They had equal amount of shots, but only 5 of those were on target, making about a third of those, where Lecce had 4 on targets. And yeah, guys, please throw that like up there and subscribe if you're new here. And I always appreciate your support. Michael Farione is yours. Do you think the change to a 4 at the back helped us get the result? I think the applied pressure as a whole, the team shape, them moving up, them starting to really take it to a Lecce who had kind of overextended themselves. Lecce get tired towards the end of this match. They're a good team. They picked up a lot of strong results, but that extra gear is one which is reserved for great teams or very good teams. Let's stop at very good. And Roma today showed me that they do have that extra gear. They just recently, 2 weeks ago, pulled off another late win, and that was against Monza, of course. Monza may have had 10 men, but they fought. So to me, it was less so about just having a more, let's say, flat back 4, and it was more so about the entire team getting into it. We see Zalewski in a very advanced position there to make his cross. So this idea that he is an outside back or a wing back, to me, is not correct. He's a player who needs to be up top, pressuring the back line, creating chances, playing 1-2s. And speaking of those, I do think that Aouar, Dybala, and Lukaku looked pretty decent today in that type of working within each other, that they did play off each other nicely. Germanicus, I hope you are okay. Patrick Umehe says he can't stop screaming. How did they win that game? And I'm just like, I screamed and I made my daughter so scared. I felt bad. You know, she's a baby. She was getting ready for a nap. She started to cry. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Daddy, it's a good scream from Daddy. Don't worry. Very good and well-deserved. Yes, Mancini got done on pace every time. Lecce's attack was quick today. We suffer a lot. This team is killing me, Diogo says. And yeah, cool says, I love that Osmoon got his goal. And Zalewski had the perfect cross with his left foot. Gave us faith and let us fight to the end. Definitely. If that sequence doesn't occur, Roma don't go on and win this, right? And Osmoon does deserve praise. I really like Osmoon. I think he offers something a little bit different. He's not a Belotti like for like. He's not a Lukaku. Instead, what he does is he's very mobile in the final third, in that he's not holding off the last defender. He's not hanging off the shoulder of the center back. Instead, what he really likes to do is almost false nine-ish, where he drops a little deep. He checks. He likes to get himself some space. He likes to have the ball at his feet. He can move away from pressure. He can unlock his teammates. And then he can ultimately score goals, which is the job of a number 9. And I thought that he did that really well today. Let me know if you agree with that assessment of Osmoon or not. Martinez is here. It says, it wasn't me or Renato Sanchez had a negative impact on the flow of the game. At that time, tactically, Lecce shift. And what happens is they're going for broke. They're parking the bus. They're not going to move players forward. So I don't know if that's totally fair. I don't know if I would agree with that, just because I think that the way that Lecce set up as soon as Renato came on was that they were pinned a bit more back, which means that the midfielders, whoever was in midfield at that time, would have had a much tougher go at trying to make something happen. I'm going to pull up the stats right now, and we can see how this is looking. Also think I think this is a really good point. I feel that if Roma did not get a result today and really did not get the win, that the pressure, the radio, social media, TV, Rai, whatever it is, Gazzetta dello Sport, the teeth would have really come out for Mourinho if he did not win this game. So I think that's a really good point that is brought up here by Cool, who I believe is a new viewer here. But let's go to the stats real quick. As I mentioned, 15 shots apiece, 5 on target for Roma, 61% possession as they started to, I thought that even before Roma went down that they held possession. A lot more passes for Roma. Most of those were, I thought, sound. As we could see, the accuracy shows that to be true, 80%. 15 fouls by Roma, 3 yellow cards. One of those is for Lukaku's shirt. at the death. 5 corners. Roma couldn't do much with them. And as we go down here, we could see Roma make that jump, tied for points, not for placement, tied for points at 17 with Fiorentina, 1 behind Bologna, 2 off from Atalanta, and just starting to creep up there. But we see that they're 4 points off of 4th as well, and 5 points off of the team who I think is most likely to drop out of the top 4, which is Milan at 22 points. So that 5 point gap could be made up head to head. Last time that Milan played Roma, it wasn't so good. I don't think that Roma played a good game. They were kind of outplayed for a lot of it. Roma played like a good 20 minutes, if I remember correctly. But Milan are having their own issues, their own injury crisis, if you will. And if we look at the goals now, goals against 14, which is the highest, tied for the highest of any side within the top 11, which since Mourinho has been in Rome, this has been one of Roma's strong points is the defense, right? But we see that Roma loses Ibanez. Chris Smalling has been out since the start of the season, since the first 2 matches of the season. So there are some alibis here. But goals for 22 makes it the 22, 24, 27, the 3rd highest amount of goals. So, not so bad for a team that was missing Dybala, but of course, many of those came from Lukaku. Not so spread as I would have liked. But I think the real story here is Bologna, Thiago Motta's team. And that, of course, being Motta, I mentioned yesterday in the preview, as he is the manager who is being rumored to take over Roma once Mourinho, in my opinion, guys, ultimately does leave for Saudi Arabia and sees his salaries quadrupled. It's reality. He's got a daughter. I think he's got 2 sons. And I would be really upset if Daddy didn't go and make that $50 million a year for us. Tell you what, Juventus super benefiting from not playing in Europe. Goals for 16, goals against 6. So a lot of those matches, of course, must have been tight. Wins, Roma, that's only 5 wins, though. As we could see, 5 wins, a bunch of losses, 4 losses, which only Atalanta equal that in the top 10. Well, actually, Lazio have 5 losses as well. So that kind of, or I should say 5 losses total, 1 more than Roma. And that's not bad. Let's take a look at their last game, especially as we're talking about the Derby delle Capitale. They've got a midweek match that's going to take place on Tuesday in the Champions League against Feyenoord. But this, Thiago Motta, man, Lewis Ferguson, I believe he's Scottish. Just 1 shot on target out of 11. It's really poor. Passing accuracy is fine. Passes, I don't read too much into it because it's not the amount of passes you have, it's where they go. Are they forward passes? Are they key passes? Do they shift play? Do they open things up? That's the real situation there. But looking forward into Roma real quick, we could see that there is Slavia Praha on Thursday, which gives them 2 less rest days than Lazio, who will play, of course, on Tuesday. But that's November 9th, 12:45 p.m. for me, Eastern Standard Time. That shouldn't be too rough of a game, I'm thinking, because Roma just need, I think, to get a draw in order to get first in Group G or Group E in the Europa League. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Let's go back and check out the comments real quick, though. Let's see. I'm going to stop the screen real quick. Guys, throw a like up there. I see over 50 people in here right now. It hasn't been this many people in here for quite a while due to Roma's form, so I'd appreciate any help. If anyone's new here, definitely subscribe. What a game. Yes, Fox in the box. And Martinez agrees with this. And this is referencing Osmoon here. Musab asks a really important question as Roma go forward. And the January Mercato is on the horizon. Is Falcone a potential option for Roma's next keeper? Definitely. You got to know that Thiago Pinto is monitoring these statistics. I would like to see Di Gregorio, who to me and statistically is the best keeper in the league at the moment. Last season, he was also at that same rank. I think he's going to cost a pretty penny from Monza. They've got a strong ownership. Galliani knows what he's doing there. The team overall is pretty strong under Palladino. They're playing some nice football. So to me, I think Di Gregorio is somebody who will probably end up perhaps even abroad. Inter don't need a keeper. Napoli are fine. Inter are fine. Milan are set for like the next decade. Atalanta, I don't see them doing it. Lazio have Provedel. So if there's no international suitors, I would really like to see Di Gregorio. But you could have a situation like when Tottenham took Vicario. He's gone. He's not coming back to City anytime soon, guys. So that's a reality that Roma will have to face. Could Di Gregorio, who's in his, I think he's 26 years old, could he even be tempted by a salary from Saudi Arabia? So there's all these outside factors now, where in the past I would say, okay, the top 5 in Italy are without or have a set keeper. So therefore there's not going to be this big market for Di Gregorio or Falcone. But that's not the situation anymore. The league is truly internationalized. Judging by the success of Vicario, Italian keepers are back on the map. So that's something to consider as well. Ultimately, I do think Falcone is probably the number one. I think he's the most realistic option cost basis here. As well, I would like to see maybe Strefezza. I think he could probably offer a bit more than Aouar and Pellegrini. And why not just make it 2 for 1? I always talk about Baldanzi and him possibly joining Roma. We know that there's been reports in the past of him coming to Rome. I don't know, though. Empoli are not looking too good. There's always going to be, probably not always, but if they go down to Serie B, it's going to decrease what they can ask for Baldanzi. So there's definitely options there who I think, in the many absences of Paulo Dybala, players who can go in and get the job done and really help this team out. He was outstanding until the 91st. And then Aravindan says, perfect Lukaku redemption arc. The San Siro, where he was isolated, didn't score, whistled. The penalty miss, and then the extra time winner. Love this guy. Musaf says, Mr. Gerard, usually SofaScore gives really good stats, if that helps. Yeah, let's go take a look at Roma Lecce SofaScore. I usually use FOTMob, FOTMOB, but SofaScore, yeah, let's check that out. So they got a little review here. I'm just looking on my computer, on my desktop real quick. I think they're going to give me a starting 11 too, and that's something we should address, by the way. And yeah, let's go to that right now. I'm going to take your screen for a second. Keep writing in comments. We will get to those towards the end here, or I should say after we're done looking at the starting lineup from SofaScore. And if we start at Rui, then from right to left, Mancini, Llorente, Indica, Karsdorp gets to start. Sportsmole reported that this is going to be Christensen. I disagreed. Ultimately, I was correct. Bove goes with Cristante. And like I said, I thought those two did fine. And El Shaarawy gets the surprising start over Zalewski. Spinazzola was injured. He's got some fatigue, I believe, some muscle issue going on. Dybala, the surprise start here after his lengthy injury absence. Aouar in place of Pellegrini. And up top, of course, Romelu Lukaku. From Lecce's point of view, Baschirotto, who looks like he's still been farming on his pig ranch by the size of his quadriceps and his back muscles, insanity there. Lamek Banda up top, 22. He was Lecce's most dangerous player. Kristovic was where he needed to be. Almquist is a decent player as well, got a 7.5 rating off of SofaScore here. And that's the highest rating of, I'm just trying to look at everything else. Yeah, out of Lecce entirely. So Falcone had 7.4, Almquist 7.5, and I believe that's the highest on the pitch. No, Dybala 7.6. If you could see that towards your bottom left there, I'm going to try to zoom in real quick. Yep, and there we go. That's 7.6 there, and that lineup was a 3-4-2-1 or a 5-3-2. It's so alike. It's like marginal. Sometimes people get caught up with what's the formation, is it 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2, 3-4-3? Like, it's so relative. It's just about a half step difference. One thing here to note is that Lecce is a surprisingly young team, 24 and a half years old on average versus Roma's 28. And here we see some of the stats. Of course, Osman better get a 7 at least for that. Who else was on the bench? Oh, nobody. Pretty much players who were never used by Mourinho. Joao Costa hasn't gotten his professional debut yet. Pagano gets fringe minutes. Young guy. Selic, who's kind of been frozen out of the squad, maybe just for the Europa League. Boer, who I've never seen play. Svilar, who plays in the Europa League. So they really went and used all of their players here. Like, that's it. Mourinho went for broke. Familiar name here who you'll see on Lecce's bench, Giacomo Faticanti, as well as Nicola Sansone. Sansone, who used to years ago be a prolific winger with Sassuolo, then went to Bologna. His career kind of cooled off. He never made that jump to a big team. But Faticanti, I expected a little bit more from him. And who was out? Man, look at this injury list. It's ridiculous. Pellegrini still, Spinazzola, Smalling, Kambula, Paredes was suspended. And of course, Tammy still. I would like to see how Tammy would fit into these tactics this year, how he would have done. I don't know if he's going to be in Rome come next summer, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, that situation. Bongani is here and says Jose got his sub spot on. Leaving Paulo and Roman was key too. Yeah, I was Bongani. I was wondering if Mourinho was going to pull out Dybala, given that it's just his first game back in like about a month's time. So that was great. Ultimately, that was the right choice to leave him on there. Guys, I'm going to check the post-match comments now as soon as we get through this set of comments, which is actually quite a lot. And Dika, what a player, what a bargain. I can see him being a cornerstone for this team. There was a lot of criticism over Ndika at the start, the first couple games. I said, you know what, just chill out. He's a new player. He's young. He's from a different league, a different setup. He's going to need time to adjust. And in my opinion, he's really, yes, coming into his own and building that stability. And he hasn't really had a solid, solidified partner. Chris has been out. Sometimes it's Cristante. Sometimes it's Llorente. And that's difficult also for a young center back to adjust to when you don't have a consistent teammate. Germanicus says, I had already settled myself for the loss. 5 minutes extra time, and I'm not even in front of the TV. I was watching Sick Wolf on my phone, and when he screamed, I screamed. 5-minute heart attack. Indica the Rock. DS Vet 21, new subscriber maybe, says today's drama with a happy end is good for the team's morale at this moment and going forward. It sets a good precedent for Roma players to remember and believe in. Yes, it does. It very much does for belief. Germanicus is also here, says kudos to everyone on the team but Christensen. Oh, poor Christensen. He also says, Svet says, if they keep pushing and doing everything until the very last second, they can overturn a loss into a victory, even during stoppage time, especially with the qualifiers. Guys, do push the like button to help this channel. Diogo says, do it, please. Come on. We need more subscribers. We're just over 1,000. And I see these other channels who just talk nonsense and transfer rumors, and they've got like 20,000 subscribers. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But I think the thing is that I don't tell BS. I think I'm honest, and we're honest here. And we have good football discussions about nuts and bolts types conversations, and not just, oh, there was this leak. Oh, Fabrizio Romano says that Roma might be bought out by Saudi Arabians, and like stuff that never happened. So yeah, I appreciate everybody who is here. And if you are new, subscribe. Gsvet also says, especially with the quality of players we have when most of them are free from injuries, hit it. Yes, yes, yes. And Omar agrees with what I was saying before about Di Gregorio over Falcone and says he's better and we should go for him. But Falcone, definitely second option. Omar mentions that Falcone is also a Roma fan and Di Gregorio is the man. Yeah. Cool says, I just remembered that people compared Osmoon to Shomorodov when we signed him. Osmoon turned out great. Yeah, Osmoon is just a loan, unfortunately, but I think that if he did stay, this is a player who could offer a lot to Roma in the future. Like I mentioned, and people in the comments have mentioned too, like he's got a unique skill set. He's a little bit different. He's, and to use that word again, unique. Musab says, I think Osmoon needs a few more games, a few more good performances, and I'll begin to believe. Ioannis checks in and says, hey, Wayne, this game had Roma happened written all over it. I'm so glad the mentality has evolved under Mourinho. Guys like Osmoon, Zalewski, Paolo, and of course, Romelu all needed some redemption. It did seem like one of those at the very start. This was so close to a Roma way or Roma happened moment. Very close. Bekwayin Kosi checking in says, Mourinho was rewarded for trusting Lukaku, even though he was not really in the match. Osmoon is showing great signs. Coach needs to trust him more. And also adds that Ndika needs to dominate and anticipate better. It was not his fault last week and today, but he didn't do enough to anticipate, and that will make Mourinho drop him when other central defenders are available. Issue of contention there. And Sylv B says, lucky win, should have got a few goals ahead. Our conversion was disappointingly poor. Ariel mentions this Roma team spirit to believe until the last second is absolutely commendable. Llorente is the best when playing the ball to Sanchez. You can see Sanchez's quality, but his injuries prevent him from exerting himself properly and going into tackles. Great day. Where's Marco, by the way? We haven't heard from him in quite a while. I hope he's doing okay. Many goals in the last 20 minutes this season mentions Silv, and Josue says, we must give Jose credit about the substitution. Would have done better if our players were healthy. Dayeroma. Amikis with our last comment here for the meantime says, agree he's a bit of a unicorn, mentioning Osmoon here. So special, mobility, speed, clinical, physicality, and has the complements of the other strikers in the squad. Perfect Mourinho player. So speaking of that, tomorrow we are going to do the Mourinho press conference, but I want to check and see if there's any quick mentions from either Cristante or Dybala. So we've got a few comments here. Yeah, we've got some from Mourinho so far, but like I said, tomorrow we'll go really in depth and analyze those because sometimes these are quite lengthy, my friends. And I know everyone's got time to do, and for time purposes, we're going to keep this a bit more concise. But we've got a few lines here. I'm going to share your screen. Take your screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Football Italia, thank you for doing this. Okay. He says, I wanted to speak to the players because the game was not over. The team was unbalanced. We went back to the old philosophy. If you lose 1-0 or 10-0, it makes no difference. We finished with 5 strikers on the pitch and Belotti as a right wing back. The lads were extraordinary. The fans were extraordinary because usually a team losing in stoppages at home does not warrant this level of passion from the crowd. The first half could have been on our side, if not put to bed, but they showed heart to fight back and respond to the situation. I said Lecce were well organized with super fast strikers on the counter. They confirmed that. I feel bad for them because they had an extraordinary game. I also feel bad for Falcone, who is a big Roma fan, but every time he faces us, he saves practically everything. Then about Lukaku, who coming into this game was 14 out of 14 from the penalty spot. It says, it is his first miss in Italy, but his second with me, as I remember the European Super Cup with Chelsea. Still, only whoever takes a penalty can risk missing it. Dybala did not feel ready to take set plays, and we had utmost faith in Romelu. I know him better than anyone. Lukaku is a very emotionally sensitive man, and when he misses an early penalty, it hurts his heart for the rest of the game. This is why scoring the last-minute winner could not be better, as it will help Romelu sleep better tonight and wake up with a smile, especially ahead of the Derby della Capitale. Oh, look at this stat. These comebacks are a feature for Mourinho, as his teams have scored 26 goals beyond the 90th minute, conceding only 3 in the same period. Whoa, that's a crazy stat. He says, I describe it as heart, mentality, and this connection with the fans. I have trained 6 or 7 clubs. I don't ever remember being in a situation where the fans keep pushing you on when losing at home. Best in the world. I made changes as a coach and tried to create a little chaos, positive chaos. But the truth is that Lecce could have easily scored more goals and won too. It was a crazy game. Then he mentions about Dybala's comeback, and if he was surprised, I was surprised too. He did some great things. Paulo is important for us, but I think today we saw Paulo fueled by passion and helping a team that was struggling. He did too much, really, but I told him it is best he remains here and does not travel to Prague. He replied, no, I want to travel and play. This is also Roma's 6th win in their last 7 competitive matches, and that loss was against Inter, as Football Italia reminds us here. And the last line, I don't think it is normal that so many teams at the top of the table drop points this weekend. Lazio, Milan, Atalanta, someone between Juve and Fiorentina will all drop points. This is unusual, and we could not drop points too. Now we are a little closer to these teams whose objectives are higher up the table. Nice. Guys, let's go back to the comments before we wrap things up. We are a half hour in. Ariel says, disappointed that Osman is not in the Europa League squad, as he would have had better chances. True. That's part of Roma's financial fair play penalty. Germanicus, I don't know if it's Smalling just not believing in his pain medicines, his body is arthritic because of age, or he's saving himself for a future transfer. Why isn't he on the field where Roma needs him? Smalling is saying that he's still in pain with his legs, so what do I know? Silv says Osman is quick to decide what to do, like Dybala, and that Osman seems to be Roma's number 2 striker. I hope they give him more chances to prove quality. What's up, Sal? What's up? And Ariel says bullet header from Osman. Love the celebration from players after Lukaku scored. Yeah, everyone celebrated just together. It's very good to see. And Carlos says, could this be the game that turns it all around for Roma? Or is that too optimistic to think like as Roma fans? I think it is definitely one which shows what this team is capable of. It shows they have the right mentality. It shows that they can score goals when they need to, when they press up the pitch, that they've got the creativity. Dybala had a bunch of chances. Of course, this team is different with him. It's definitely a testament ahead of the derby. It's a statement to the other teams which Roma are competing against. And maybe it is very much a signal that Roma can and has the ability, the potential to take the top 4 spot. Let me know what you guys think about that. Is this team capable of getting the 4th spot? And after today's match, 90 minutes without a goal against Lecce at home in front of 61,000 fans, we really start to doubt that. And we have these second thoughts of, what is this team capable of? What's Mourinho really capable of getting Roma? How far can he get them? Why do they look so poor at times? But then suddenly they switch on, and your entire psyche, the entire storyline of this match is turned on its head. And that's something we got to think about. Is it Jekyll or is it the Hyde? Which Roma do you get? Or is it just a factor of being unlucky? Is it a factor that Roma's setup was predicated on them scoring off of a few chances, and when you miss those few chances and the other team takes advantage, it looks much worse than it actually is? That's also a possibility here. Oi. Rakam, did I miss something? Just came back. Osmoon, the definition of passion and positivity. When he came in, he believed and kept pushing. But Lukaku is the Lion King. Osmoon or Belotti. I've been thinking a while about if I was going to get a jersey, like somebody on the back of a kit, because I really want to get the black one this year. And I want to ask you for the final question today. I'm going to post it, or there we go. Check out that banner, and you tell me, who should I get on the back of the black kit? I don't care about the numbers. I just care about the players themselves. I'm not going to do the sponsorship. I might do the Europa League patch because it looks pretty neat. But anyway, guys, as you're writing that comment in, last plug of the day. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're jumping in, 50 people, give it a like. Stay tuned on this channel for Roma and Serie A content almost every single day. There is something to look at, whether it's a short, a post, a live stream, a preview. Today, we took a look at the supposedly leaked kit from Footy Headlines. If you didn't get a chance to check out that short, though, I'm going to pull it up here. Footy Headlines AS Roma. I don't see it yet. Flame. Got a big flame on it. Here it is. Just before we sign off, let's check this out. This is like one of the craziest kits I've ever seen. So supposed leak. Is it true or not? I don't know. But isn't that crazy looking? I really like the Lupetto though. I like that circular type of imagery there. They're nuts. If this is true, if this rendering is accurate, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but it's cool. It's definitely neat. Anyway, I'm going to read those comments and then we're going to sign off, guys. Let's see what we got on this vote. Dybala or SCS, SCS, SCS. Dybala in your way. I like that. Guys, thanks again. We'll be analyzing the Mourinho press conference tomorrow. What a win. What a day. Thank you so much for joining me.